And welcome, sports fans, to today's roundtable. And it's a very fun time of the year as we're heading into district play for both boys and girls basketball, and they're actually getting underway today and moving on into next week for classes 1 through 3 for district tournaments, and classes 4 and 5 will be the next week following. So a lot of basketball here in the next few weeks getting underway with district tournament play and eventually state tournament play here in the state of Missouri. So very exciting time to look forward to. We're going to have the breakdown for you all the way through from classes 1 through 5, every district tournament here locally throughout southeast Missouri, and it's going to be very exciting going forward. We're going to have Jim Reiker along with us. He's a sports radio commentator here in the Dexter area talking about the girls tournaments, and we're going to have a breakdown of those tournaments, classes 1 through 5, and also we'll have Terry McVey and Tommy Jacques along with us to talk about all the boys tournaments, classes 1 through 5, and we're going to give a full preview of all the tournaments taking place, getting underway today. Some will get underway today, some will start Monday, but nonetheless, the next 2 weeks is going to be very exciting for all of you high school basketball fans out there to look forward to. A lot of great basketball being played, and we're going to carry quite a few of those games in the next few weeks, and we'll talk about that later in the show, as well as we're going to help bring district tournament basketball, especially the championship games, here in the next few weeks. So we're going to be along for the ride, and hopefully you'll join us right here on YHC TV Channel 21, as well as CMOSportZone.com. So a lot to look forward to, a lot to get to today. Hopefully you'll stick around for a great show, and we'll be going along right with fun for all the high school basketball taking place starting this next week. And let's go ahead and get into some action that took place yesterday and the day before, wrapping up the regular season for classes 1 through 3. Class 4 and 5 still got another week to go, but getting to the action that took place yesterday evening and take a look at those games in the CMO Conference. Quite an upset win last night for the Poplar Bluff Mules. And the Poplar Bluff Mules defeated the Charleston Blue Jays 70-44. Impressive victory for the Poplar Bluff Mules. And Charleston was in control of their own destiny when it came to the CMO Conference yesterday evening. A win over the Mules would clinch them the CMO Conference championship, and with the loss, they lose the championship, and the Jackson Indians claim the district title, the CMO Conference title this year in the conference. An impressive season for the Jackson Indians. Charleston beat Jackson, I believe it was earlier this week, or if not earlier this week, late last week in the CMO Conference, and Charleston was on their way if they could get past Poplar Bluff, but we'll have Terry McVey along with us. He was at the game last night to elaborate on how that game went, but impressive victory for the Poplar Bluff Mules, as I think with that win, they're right around the 500, I think a game over the 500 mark, if I have that correctly, and a big win for Poplar Bluff to start to wrap up their season, and you can't get much of a better win than over the Charleston Blue Jays at this time of the year. So we'll talk a little bit more about that game once Terry and Tommy come on, and we'll talk about that game last night with Poplar Bluff and Charleston. And also, we've got last night Sikeston over Bernie, 63-41. Sikeston Bulldogs over the Bernie Mules. The Bernie Mules conclude their season with a loss to the Sikeston Bulldogs. Certainly a nice team to play once you're going into the district tournament. You can't play much better competition than the Sikeston Bulldogs. And Bernie put up a fight, but too much of the Sikeston Bulldogs in the end in that contest. And also we have Cape Central over Lutheran South, 64-47. Farmington over Hillsboro, 69-37. Jackson over Kennett, 63-42. Leopold over Delta, 63-23. Valley Catholic over Fredericktown, 55-51. Naylor over Campbell in a close one, 68-64. Park Hills Central over Perryville, 69-59. New Madrid County Central over Scott County Central, 66-53. And this was Thursday night's games here. We brought that game to you live Thursday night between New Madrid and Scott County. and a really good matchup between those two teams. New Matter got out to an early lead in the first quarter and never relinquished it, as Scott County made a few runs, but New Matter always had an answer in that game, and winning in the end by 13. And New Matter looking really good at this time of the year. Got a few players that are stepping up, and we'll talk a little bit about that with the guys in our next upcoming segments. But impressive victory and looking good are the New Matter County Central Eagles, also the Scott County Central Braves right there in the mix to make another run. They look good, just a little too much underneath for the New Matter County Central Eagles in that game, and we'll talk about both of those teams coming up. And also Risco over Zalma hitting the century mark 100-80. Dexter over Scott City 68-45. Oak Ridge over East Prairie 72-58. Clarkton over Holcomb 78-66. And Clarkton wins the regular season conference championship in the Tri-County with that victory. An impressive season for the Clarkton Reindeer. And what a Class 1 district that's going to be coming up this week at Risco. And plenty to talk about with that district coming up. So look forward to that in our next coming segment. And also we have Clearwater over Donovan out in the Ozark Foothills Conference, 52-42. Sykeston over Caruthersville, 80-65. That was from Thursday evening as well. All these games here at Thursday evening. Impressive victory for the Sykeston Bulldogs there over Caruthersville. So that pretty much wraps up Thursday and Friday games. As I mentioned before, classes 1 through 3 will have ended their season as their district tournaments start, some of those today and going into next week. Classes 4 and 5 got one more week of their regular season going into next week, and they'll wrap up their seasons next week with a few games. So for most of these teams, their season's over, looking into district play, and we've got all the seedings coming up, so stick around for that. A lot to get to in our later segments. And let's quickly go over the local and state rankings we have for high school basketball for both boys and girls. And starting with the SEMO Sport Zone SEMO 25 poll for the boys. And this poll is coming into this week, so it won't reflect the past few games for all of these teams. Coming into this week, Charleston at number 1 at 18-5. 2, Jackson at 19-4. 3, Sykeston. 4, Notre Dame. 5, Caruthersville. 6, New Matter County Central. 7, Cape Central. 8, Caruthersville. 9, Farmington. 10, Kennett. 11, Poplar Bluff. 12, Bernie. 13, South Pemiscot. 14, Hayti. 15, Park Hills Central. 16, Clearwater. 17, Leopold. 18, Advance. 19, Oran. 20, Risco. 21, Holcomb. 22, Oak Ridge. 23, Chaffee. 24, Saxony Lutheran. And 25, Clarkton. And just on the bubble on the outside, Puxco Valley Catholic, East Prairie, Twin Rivers, and Malden. That's your SEMO 25 poll for the boys. And as you can see, dominating at the top, which is usually the case, the SEMO Conference. But I'll tell you that SEMO Conference this year, it seems like everybody's beat up on everybody, especially including the last few games over the last few days of Poplar Bluff beating Charleston, costing Charleston that SEMO Conference title, and Jackson wins that title this year. And very deep SEMO Conference, which we'll talk more about later. So it's really hard to come up with a top 25 poll when you see teams that beat each other that are ahead of one another, even though the team probably with the lower ranking beat the team with a higher ranking. It's hard. You kind of had to take the season in its totality of how teams have played. It's really hard to put together a poll this year, certainly in that, considering the SEMO Conference. Seems like everybody's beat everybody in that conference this year. Very competitive conference this year in that SEMO Conference. And take a look at the girls SEMO Sport Zone Top 10 poll, the SEMO 10 poll for the girls. Dexter on top at number 1, pretty much laying their stake for number 1, defeating the best teams in Southeast Missouri this season. And number 2, Notre Dame. 3, Saxony Lutheran. 4, Park Hills Central. 5, Jackson. 6, Neelyville. 7, Clearwater. 8, Poplar Bluff. 9, Oran. 10, Woodland. And moving on to the state rankings for both boys and girls basketball in the state of Missouri. And it's from the Missouri Basketball Coaches Association and MoSports.com for this week's poll. Coming into this week, it won't reflect this week's games. Top ranked South Iron, as they've been most of the year, at 20-3. 2, Scott County Central. 3, Medville. 4, Stanberry. 5, Winston. 6, Leopold. 7, Mound City. 8, Max Creek. 9, Novinger. 10, Hardin Central. That's the top 10 for Class 1. And looking at Southeast Missouri, 2 teams representing Southeast Missouri there with Scott County Central and Leopold. And South Iron right down the way for whoever comes out of Southeast Missouri here. I think that's going to be out in the quarterfinal round with an eventual matchup with South Iron. So we'll be talking about that when it comes to Class 1 a little later on. And in Class 2, Sacred Heart undefeated at 19-0 at number 1. 2, Canton. 3, West Platte. 4, Thayer. 5, Iberia. 6, Osceola. 7, Gainesville. 8, Salisbury. 9, Harrisburg. And 10, Bernie. Bernie moving down a bit with a few late season losses to number 10. And in Class 3, Cardinal Ritter at number 1, as they've been the past few weeks. 2, Madison Prep. 3, Eugene. 4, Hartville. 5, Stratford. 6, Charleston. 7, Summit Christian Academy. 8, Knob Noster. 9, Barstow. And 10, Mountain View Liberty. And in Class 4, Republic at number 1. 2, Duchesne. 3, Lafayette of St. Joseph. 4, Sykeston. 5, St. Charles. 6, Lincoln Prep. 7, Jeff City Helias. 8, Grandview. 9, Pacific. And 10, Hillcrest. Sykeston still remaining in that top 5 in Class 4. And in Class 5, Waynesville at number 1. 2, Chaminade. 3, Christian Brothers College. 4, Hickman. 5, Lee Summit West. 6, Blue Springs South. 7, Lafayette. 8, Hazelwood Central. 9, Rockbridge. And 10, Webster Groves. And Jackson made the top 10 in that Class 5 poll a few weeks ago, but got bumped out of that poll. But Jackson's going to be right there in the mix. They made a nice run last year all the way out to the quarterfinal round, being in the top 8 teams in the state. So the Jackson Indians going to be right there in the mix in Class 5 once again this year. And take a look at the girls' state rankings. Starting out with Class 1, Nottoway Holt at an undefeated 22-0 at number 1. 2, North Andrew. 3, Walnut Grove. 4, Mercer. 5, Chadwick. 6, Drexel. 7, Glasgow. 8, St. Elizabeth. 9, Oric. And 10, Tuscumbia. In Class 2, Crane at number 1. 2, Skyline. 3, Plato. 4, Marionville. 5, New Franklin. 6, North Platte. 7, Archie. 8, Gainesville. 9, South Harrison. And 10, Jasper. And in Class 3 for the girls, on top at number 1 is St. James. 2, Herman. 3, Palmyra. 4, Cardinal Ritter. 5, Metro. 6, Ash Grove. 7, Lutheran St. Peter's. 8, Licking. 9, Principia. And 10, Eldorado Springs. And in Class 4, on top is Incarnate Word, a nationally ranked team. 2, American Institute of Country Day Schools. 3, St. Francis Borgia. 4, Sullivan. 5, Smithville. 6, the local Dexter Lady Bearcats. 7, Webb City. 8, Miller Career Academy. 9, Notre Dame of Cape Girardeau. And 10, West Platte. And Cape Notre Dame moving into that top 10 here in the last few weeks, having an impressive season themselves there in Cape Girardeau. And in Class 5 for the girls, Rockbridge at number 1. 2, Truman. 3, Eureka. 4, Hickman. 5, Kearney. 6, Fort Zumwalt West. 7, Webster Groves. 8, Nixa. 9, Ozark. And 10, Washington. And those are the girls' state rankings for the state of Missouri. And only a few teams there in the rankings locally, Cape Notre Dame and Dexter. And no other teams represented in Southeast Missouri in those state polls. But a lot to look forward to on the girls' side, especially that Class 4 District 1. 2 of the top 10 teams there, Notre Dame and Dexter, in the same district. And probably set for a great matchup in that district tournament coming up in the next few weeks. And we'll talk about that later on as well. And those are the local and state rankings, basically the final rankings for the regular season as we get into district play, and the only thing left is the final poll as these district and state tournaments conclude themselves over the next couple of weeks. So a lot to get to, a lot of basketball to be played over the next few weeks as we're on the road to Columbia in the Final Four for the state championships. And we're going to take a break and get into our district previews, and we're going to have Jim Reiker come up and talk about all of the girls' district tournaments coming up starting this next week, and we'll be back with him coming up.
Welcome to NFL Total Access,
the show that takes you inside the locker room and down on the field. With inside access to all 32 teams all year long. NFL Total Access, Monday through Saturday, only on NFL Network.
NFL Network, where football season never ends.
I chose Three Rivers College. Caring staff made it easy to enroll. I'm receiving affordable, quality college classes. Day, evening, and online classes let me work college into my schedule.
With locations throughout Southeast Missouri and over 200 course offerings, including online courses, Three Rivers can help you earn a college or career technical degree.
I chose Three Rivers College. You should too.
Enroll today. Learn more at trcc.edu. Three Rivers College. Success starts here.
First Midwest Bank Gold Club offers special privileges for our friends who are age 50 or better and have combined deposits of $5,000. Members enjoy trips, cruises, seminars, and picnics along with free personalized bank services. Upcoming trips include Journey Through the Holy Land, Yellowstone in winter, Classic Ireland, and Hawaiian Paradise Cruise. Stop by any First Midwest Bank location to sign up for the Gold Club. It's absolutely free. First Midwest Bank, providing common sense financial solutions every day.
And now we're along with Jim Reiker, a sports radio commentator here in Southeast Missouri, mainly following the Dexter Bearcats on 90.3 KLUH FM. And Jim's good to have you with us today.
Well, Tyler, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And it's a very exciting time for both boys and girls basketball and coming into district play, as we've seen a few teams over the past few years make a good run at the Final Four, and hopefully the same this year across all the classes, and a lot to get to. And let's just start out with the smaller schools in Class 1. Class 1, District 1, they're at Risco. There's only 2 teams, so they're just going to have a state or a district championship, Naylor and Koshkonong. So the winner of that will move on to the Class 1 state tournament. And you've seen a little bit of Naylor, probably not so much of Koshkonong. It's way out west out there.
Right.
Both these teams having to travel almost an hour and a half just to play this district championship game. So it's quite a road game for both teams.
It is, and Naylor, I think, played Koshkonong earlier and won by 10 earlier in the season. And they've got some good little players. The Tharp girls really sharp. They've got a young lady by the name of Rogers that plays post that does a good job. And I figure they'll do that they could give Koshkonong a good game and advance on and play the winner of District 2 probably.
Sure. And Naylor, a very good program for a small school. They're probably one of the more consistent small programs in the area.
Absolutely. Coach Decker does a great job over there. He coaches the same girls play softball and basketball, and they tend to go to the Final Four or the Final 8 every year in both sports. So he does a great job, and not a lot of kids, but they play great defense. They play hard. They play a lot of times a 1-3-1 zone that is hard to decipher if you haven't seen it before. So they give teams a lot of trouble. They really do. They're a good squad.
Yeah, and we've seen Naylor advance out to the state tournament regularly, and with 2 teams usually in that district, you come away with 1 win, you're in the state tournament. So that's just how it goes, especially with these smaller schools in the area. And the Naylor Lady Eagles, even though they're in that tournament, they're deservingly.
Oh, absolutely. They're a good team, and they play all comers during the regular season too. They play Dexter, they play the bigger schools. They're not afraid, so they get after it, and I think that pays off for them when it comes to district time.
Certainly, yeah. And Caleb, can we bring up that Class 1, District 1 for the girls? Just get exactly the day on that. I know it's going to be taking place Thursday, the 27th, and that's going to be at 6 o'clock at Risco, and probably inconvenient for these teams having to travel over an hour just to play their district championship game, but that's just how how the site works out for them. But Naylor and Koshkonong in that Class 1 District 1 championship game, they're at Risco, and that'll be the 27th, Thursday at 6 o'clock at Risco. So that district championship taking place is coming next Thursday.
And Tyler, I think the winner of that will play probably Scott County Central will probably come out of District 2, so that'll be a nice matchup too then in that first round state game then.
Sure, yeah, we were going to move up to the Class 1 District 2 and talk a little bit about that one. As you said, Scott County Central on top at number 1, the number 1 seed in that district coming out, and they'll take on McKinley, who's the 4 seed, and the other semifinal matchup, 2nd seeded Delta over Fulton, and that other semifinal. So what do you got to say about these teams?
Well, Scott County Central is sort of a little had some struggles here lately. They had lost one of their ladies to injury, and then I think they had a couple kids just in the last couple of weeks transfer out of the district, so they're in a little state of flux. But the rest of those teams in that district, quite honestly, are not very strong. So I really feel like Scott County Central will probably come out of there and be a good matchup. Naylor and Scott County Central. Naylor, full court press, want to get up and down the floor. Naylor likes to slow it down. It'd be a good matchup, I think, in a first round game.
Sure. And Scott County's one of those teams you look through the season that they're playing the big schools as well. And,
absolutely.
They compete across all classes, and they're competitive.
Oh, they're very competitive, and yeah, they'll give either team that comes out of there will represent Southeast Missouri very well, no question.
Sure. And that district tournament taking place in Delta, the Class 1 District 2 is up in Delta for this year. And let's move up class to Class 2. Class 2 District 1. And a few more teams in this district is South Pemiscot with the top seed. They'll take on the winner of the 4 seed Campbell Lady Camels and 5th seed Zenith Hornersville. And then the other semifinal matchup is Hayti versus Portageville. And South Pemiscot probably has one of the better players in the area. On their team,
right? Carrie Shepard assigned to play at Mizzou, and yeah, she can carry a team through a district tournament, I believe. She's a dandy player. Mizzou's getting a real good kid and a good ball player, and so I really think South Penn will probably come out of that district, without too much trouble, and go on to face the winner of District 2. But she's a dandy player. She's worth the price of admission to see play. I guarantee you.
Sure, and. Worth mentioning, Hayti won the district championship last year, and Carrie Shepard come down with an untimely injury, I believe, last year,
if I'm
not mistaken,
yes.
And cost them a chance to win that district title.
Right. That's exactly right. Yeah, she was hurt, and I'm sure she'll, with her senior year, try to make that up this year. No question about that.
Certainly wishing for a little better fortune this year when it comes to the health of Carrie Shepard this season. So they certainly have a good shot at pulling out that district with her on the floor. And I haven't got to see her in person yet. I've seen a few highlights on YouTube, and quite a ball player, it looks like.
I actually haven't seen her play with South Penn, but I saw her play with one of the traveling teams she played with, and she's just, she's only about 5'5" probably, but quick and can also shoot the 3, and she's just a load for anybody to stop. She can, like I said, she's the kind of kid who can go off for 30 points on any given night and can carry a team to a victory in a district tournament, no question. She's a good one. She's a good one.
Yeah. Well, especially at the small school level.
Right.
Talent like her can do a lot for you.
That's exactly right. Yeah. When you get to 4 and 5, you got to have more than one player. But in Class 2, one player can carry you a long way. And she has to do a lot for South Penn. She has to handle the ball. She has to score for him. She has to do a lot of things. But she's been up to the task so far this season, no question.
Sure. And moving up, I believe we got Class 2, District 2, just over the way in Van Buren. And Thayer with the top seed in that district, and they'll take on the 8 seed Greenville. 4 seed Puxco taking on 5th seed Neelyville. 3 Couch versus 6 Van Buren. And 2 Winona taking on 7th East Carter. And Jim, what stands out to this tournament?
Well, Tyler, I'm not sure that's right. I believe Neelyville's the 1 seed in that tournament. Because I thought I'd looked at that someplace earlier. I may be wrong on that, but I think Neelyville's the 1 seed and Greenville's the 2 seed in that, with Thayer maybe being 3, and I may be totally wrong on that, but because I thought I'd looked that up, and if that is the case, Neelyville and Greenville both are quality teams.
Okay, I think I've got the boys and girls crossed up. Yeah, I think so.
So Neelyville's the 1 seed, and I believe Greenville's the 2 seed, and maybe Thayer's the 3 seed, if I remember correctly. And Neelyville, Coach Hale does a great job with the girls over there. They like to get it up and down the floor. They'll press a lot. Greenville, Coach Meyer, the Bears do a good job of slowing it down. So if that's the championship game, that'll be a sort of a classic matchup there of who which style wins, getting up and down the floor or slowing it down a little bit. But two really good Class II programs this year, and I think that'll be a good matchup. And then, depending on who comes out of there, and if South Pim comes out, it's what you were talking about earlier. Can Carrie Shepherd, sort of one player, carry a team through a sectional win against a good team? And there's the big matchup there, I think.
Yeah, and that gets difficult. You go up against a good team that can really prepare prepare efficiently for a talent like Carrie Shepherd, and it'll take one heck of an effort on her part to overcome that, and for the team as well to overcome the preparation of another good team coming into that game.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and that's one thing Coach Hale and Coach Meyer both do. They are great preparers. Their teams always are ready when they get on the floor. They know what they're going to see from the other team, and they do a great job of following out a game plan. So that'll be a good matchup.
Sure,
there, no question.
And we did have the boys and girls crossed up there. Neelyville with the top seed, and in the neighboring bracket, or Neelyville has a first round bye, and the 4th seed Couch will take on 5th seed Van Buren. The winner takes on Neelyville, and you got 3rd seeded Naylor taking on 6th seeded Puxico, and 2nd seeded Greenville taking on 7th seeded East Carter County in that basically quarterfinal matchup. So sorry getting those mixed up there. So, and that one's taking place in Van Buren?
Van Buren, yes,
okay,
Van Buren. Yep.
For that district tournament out west. And going up, let's see, that was Class 2 District 2. Now we got Class 2 District 3 at Chaffee, and hopefully we've got this one right. Do we have this one right?
I believe that's right. Oran's number 1 seed there, I believe. Yes, sir. I think that is
All
right.
right, we got top-seeded Oran and 4th-seeded Chaffee taking on 5th. Valley of Caledonia. 2nd-seeded Bismarck taking on 7th Southern Reynolds. 3rd-seeded Viburnum taking on 6th-seeded Meadow Heights. So what stands out in this district?
Well, Oran has been good for a number of years. They have a lot of great athletes. Chaffee is really, I've been impressed with the way they've improved their program. It was really one of the, honestly, probably 4 or 5 years ago, one of the worst programs in Southeast Missouri, and they've really come up now, and they've beaten some decent teams. They've got a good group. And those other teams are traveling, like you said, Bunker and those guys are traveling a long way to Chaffee to play a game, so you see how that plays out. But Oran will probably come out of there, I would guess. They're pretty good. They've got a pretty good program there.
Sure.
They really do.
And we bring it back up real quick, Caleb, and it's at Chaffee this year.
Yeah, at Chaffee. So that'll give Chaffee a little bit of added incentive. And Oran and Chaffee being so close, I'm sure if Chaffee wins that first game, that's probably a pretty big rivalry against each other, Oran and Chaffee. So that'd be a good matchup in the semifinals, I would
Certainly,
think.
Yeah. You certainly win it on your home court if you're taking on the top seed in the district, and they'll have that, at least have that home court advantage if they indeed move on to that semifinal matchup. That final's taking place Thursday the 27th at 6 o'clock. And let's move to Class 3 District 1, and that takes place in Doniphan. And the Doniphan Lady Dons with the top seed. They'll take on 8th-seeded Crothersville. 4 Charleston taking on 5 East Prairie. 3 New Madrid County Central versus 6 Kelly. And 2 Twin Rivers taking on 7 Malden.
I think this is the most competitive district in Southeast Missouri as far as all the teams being even. I think you could throw the top 6 in a hat. Doniphan, Charleston, East Prairie, New Madrid, Kelly, and Twin Rivers, throw them in a hat and pull a name out and pick the winner. Kelly's playing very well right now, and they're the 6th seed. Coach Crockett at New Madrid, his girls will play relentless defense. So they're going to be tough. Charleston's had a little slide lately, but they're awfully good. Twin Rivers, Dexter played them, Thursday night and won handily, but Twin Rivers has got some good players, no question, can shoot the ball well, and Doniphan has some outstanding shooters. So I think that's a wide open district. Whoever comes out of there, it could very competitive games there, no question about it.
So basically, it's the deepest tournament, you think?
To me, the most balanced. I'm not sure the winner of that district will go very far ultimately, but I think all the games will be very competitive. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well. Nice tournament to watch then.
Absolutely, and it starts this morning, I think. I think Twin Rivers and Malden maybe had a 10 o'clock game this morning, so they're probably already playing.
Certainly. That's a lot of teams in that district for both boys and girls, so ideally getting underway today. A long district for both boys and girls there.
Right.
And moving up to, I think we have Class 3 District 2, the neighbor? Yeah, okay, we got Class 3 District 2 at Clearwater. More teams out of the area here, but still yet somewhat local here. Clearwater with the number 1 seed, 8 Scott City, 4 St. Pius taking on 5th Saxony Lutheran, 3 Arcadia Valley taking on 6 Jefferson, 2 West County taking on 7 Woodland. So what stands out here?
Well, I think that may be the boys' bracket too, Tyler. Because Saxony is the number 1 seed, I know, in that district for sure. Saxony's the number 1 seed, and Saxony's 1, Arcadia Valley's 2, and Clearwater's 3. Saxony's the class of that district. Clearwater has a great player in Lexi Morris, and she's the kind of kid who can score 30 in a game and maybe carry them against Arcadia Valley in the semis. But Saxony ought to come out of that district. They're just, they've got 8 sophomores or 9 sophomores that play a lot, and they're very solid, very physical, love to get up and down the floor, and I just think they'll come out of that district. They'll be too deep for everybody else over there, I believe.
Okay. As you say, there's Saxony Lutheran taking on 8 seeded Scott City, 4 St. Pius taking on 5 Woodland, 2 Arcadia Valley taking on 7 West County, and 3 Clearwater taking on Jefferson of Festus. So Saxony Lutheran, one of these programs that is coming up and playing quite well with the probably younger team. I think going back to last year, played a lot of underclassmen. Right. And the program on the rise.
We're very much on the rise. Coach Sides up there has got a really good program. He had these group of girls have come from St. Paul Lutheran in Jackson and Trinity Lutheran in Cape, and when they were in, I believe, 8th grade, one of the 2 schools won the National Lutheran Championship, and the other one was 3rd. So they put those kids together. Now they're sophomores, and so they've played together a long time, and they're really strong. They've got both outside shooting, they've got good ball handlers, they're very physical. They've got a little bit of size, so they're going to be a tough out, And I would figure they would come out of the district and probably beat the champion of District 1 as well, and maybe move on to that quarterfinal game. I would assume would get that far at least.
Okay, so Saxony Lutheran, that next few years is going to be a scary team to play.
Absolutely, 9 sophomores. They have 9 sophomores and a senior on their roster. So,
wow.
So for the next 2 years, they're going to be the beast of Southeast Missouri, I would think.
Well, it looks like it.
Yeah,
certainly playing with that many underclassmen already and playing competitively.
Right, very competitively. Right, 3 losses, I think, 2 to Notre Dame, or 4 losses maybe, 2 to Notre Dame, 1 to Cor Jesu out of St. Louis, and 1 to Dexter. So they've gotten beat by some pretty good teams.
Certainly, yeah. And moving on to our next tournament, we've got, hopefully it's correct. Well, we'll move past this one, Caleb. We're going to talk about that one. That's not quite completed there. But Class 5 District 1 at Seckman, and only 2 of our local teams playing this one. But Fox with the number 1 seed with the first round bye. They'll take on the winner of Oakville and Seckman, the 4-5 game, and 2 Jackson taking on 3 Poplar Bluff. So how do our local teams stack up in this tournament?
Well, that's another one of those things. Jackson and Bluff have to drive a long way just to play a game, But Jackson beat Bluff early in the year. That's why they're the 2 seed. And I think they'll play the winner of either one, whichever one wins that, will give Fox a good game. Traditionally, that Southern St. Louis girls basketball is not incredibly strong. So I think Jackson or Bluff, either one, can give them a good ball game and then move on. Then, they run into some pretty quality teams. I think Eureka in the next round, whoever wins that. And Eureka, I think I saw earlier, was ranked 3rd in the state in Class 5. So that's going to be a problem for them. But I think they'll do well in the district tournament. I really do. Well, we've not seen Jackson yet. We saw Poplar Bluff the other night. Dexter plays Jackson Monday night. So we'll have a little bit of feel after that. But I know they are quick, and they are really good shooters. So I think they'll give Fox all they want, probably.
Okay, so Jackson and Bluff, like you said, long way to play up at Seckman and St. Louis.
Right.
Pretty good drive just to play a district game.
That's exactly right. Long drive. You think they could say, couldn't we just play that maybe in Cape or something and make it a little easier on everybody? But that's the way districts work out.
Yeah, especially those large schools there in Class 5. They got to pull together quite a few teams from a long distance.
Right, exactly right.
Just to form a district. And that just makes it tough on there with Jackson and Bluff. Look at it, it's not a large tournament, so 2 games they'll play at the most. They're in that district tournament, so at least they can spread those games out a little bit.
Yeah, it won't be too bad at least, that's right.
And let's move back down to Class 4 District 1. We don't have a bracket for that. It's being created probably as we speak here this morning. Class 4 District 1 for both boys and girls, seating meetings this morning. And there's the teams that are going to be in this district: Dexter, Notre Dame, Kennett, Cape Central, Perryville, and Sykeston. And we can pretty much probably feel out where these teams are going to land.
Yeah, we've talked about it. Scott Nelson and Matt Thurman and I have talked about it a lot, and knowing who's beating who. Dexter will be the 1 seed. Notre Dame will certainly be 2. I believe Sykeston beat Kennett a couple weeks ago, so Sykeston will probably be the 3 seed, and they have been playing very well. They're 3 or 4 games over 500 now. Kennett will be the 4 probably, and then earlier this week I believe Cape Central beat Perryville in triple overtime, so that probably won them the 5 seed and Perryville the 6 seed, I would guess. I mean, we'll know here in another hour or so, because I think they started the seed meeting at 10 o'clock this morning, but that'll probably be pretty close to right.
Sure, and probably there's 2 first-round buys that'll be probably likely, as we said. Dexter, the number 1 seed, and Notre Dame, the 2nd seed, having first-round buys, and then the 4-5 game will likely be...
I would think the 4-5 game will be Kennett and Cape Central, with the 3-6 game being Sykeston and Perryville, so that would mean Dexter would play either, just trying to figure this out without a bracket there, will be Kennett, probably Kennett or Cape Central, and then Notre Dame would play either Perryville or Sykeston.
Okay.
I believe the way it's work out.
So that's probably likely what that district's going to look like. And elaborating on Dexter season, you all follow Dexter Lady Bearcat basketball on 90.3 KLUH, and very fine season for the Dexter Lady Bearcats once again this year.
Yeah, 20-3. Their 3 losses have been to the number 1 ranked team in the state in Class 5, the number 1 team in the state in Class 3, and the number 2 team in Class 2A in Tennessee in Dyersburg. So, 3 losses. Coach Allen and Mr. Erhan have done a great job of bulking the Lady Cats schedule up. They wanted to get all comers this year, and they've taken just about anybody who'd play them and played them and gone wherever they've had to go to do it. And that's made them ready for the district, I really believe, and hopefully beyond. I mean, that was certainly their idea, no question.
Certainly, and you speak to those losses. Rockbridge, number 1 team in Class 5, a loss there, and St. James, number 1 team in Class 3. So they've played pretty much all who they can play, and they've had to travel for those games.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's not like you can just go down the road and play one of the top teams in the state.
Exactly right. We were in St. Louis to play Columbia Rockbridge. We were in St. Louis to play St. Joe Academy. We drove to St. James to play. We met Miller Career Academy at Mac in Park Hill. So yeah, we've traveled a lot to get that done. But that's what makes you a better program, is to play those tough teams. And I think we've really seen it. I tell you what, I was looking this morning. I think the turning point of the season maybe was the loss to Columbia Rockbridge. They were down at one point 28 points, came back and cut it to a 14-point loss. And I think about that point the girls figured out, hey, we're pretty good. We can play with about anybody, because Rockbridge started a team that the shortest starter was 5'11". They had a couple 6'3" kids, a 6'1" point guard. They were tough, so it was a good. I think that's what sort of set the Lady Cats in motion, and they've moved on now. And 20-3, chance to win the CMO Conference tournament championship with 2 wins this week, which is one of their goals, and then district starts. So
sure, and a great season they had last year, going all the way out to the Final Four, coming away with 4th place, and coming into this year, they knew they had to prepare for this district and state tournament, especially if they were eventually to make it out to the Final Four, because they run into some good teams last year. Incarnate Word, nationally ranked team.
Oh, yeah.
And in the 3rd place game, Smithville, they took 2 sizable losses there, and they knew that coming back, they were going to prepare themselves.
Right, and that's exactly right. And that's what they've done, and the girls have really dedicated themselves, I think. The 4 seniors have really stepped up and done everything they could do in the off season to get ready for this. And the sophomores have stepped up as well. The plus is you've got 7 kids playing who have state Final Four experience, and that's invaluable, once you get back to it. So if they get a chance to get back, the one plus this year, jumping ahead a little bit, but the one plus is Incarnate Word, which is the animal of Class 4. And like I said, nationally ranked. They were ranked number 1 in the nation at one point this year. They're on the other side of the bracket this year, so at least we would not have to play them to the final game. So that's one plus at least. If you can look for small favors, that's one at least.
But you look at that potential Final Four, it's going to be very competitive with Smithville bringing back a competitive team this year. They're going to be right there in the mix, and a couple other teams there at the top of Class 4. Very competitive Final Four shaping out there in Columbia, whoever makes it.
Right. The one plus for this Class 1 district champion, whether it be Dexter or Notre Dame or whoever comes out of there, is that a lot of the good teams, unfortunately for them, get knocked out early on. Miller Career Academy is in the same district with Incarnate Word. MICDS plays the sectional game against Incarnate Word. Well, you assume they get knocked out. The quarterfinal game would be a Sullivan probably, or Borgia. They probably get knocked out by Incarnate Word. So a lot of those teams, really good teams, never make it to the Final Four just because Incarnate Word's in that bracket, and that makes it tough, So, but it's really good for the class or the District 1 through 4 teams because they don't have to visit any of those until they get to the Final Four that way.
So basically, the most competitive teams in Class 4 on the other side of the state tournament bracket.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. The most competitive are. So that's a break you get, I guess, if you're on this side of the bracket.
Certainly. And, talking about this Class 4 District 1 tournament, this is probably the tournament to watch when it comes to the best couple of teams in Southeast Missouri, and Dexter and Notre Dame, and they've already played each other in the last week or so. Right. Come down to the very end between these two teams.
Right. Played 2 weeks ago at Notre Dame. The Lady Bearcats won by 6, 60-54. Notre Dame had a 2-point lead at the half, had I believe a 5-point lead at the end of 3. Dexter honestly did not play very good defense in that ball game. The first half in particular, Notre Dame shot 75% from the 3-point line in the first half. We didn't guard very well. But they've got a good team. They've got Annie Siebert, who's a great shooter. They got a little point guard, Carson Powers, quick as she can be. They've got Caitlin Welter, who's a real good 3-point shooter as well. They're another one who has their rotation is 8 seniors. The Coach Peters plays 8 seniors pretty solely, and they're a good team. It'll be a tough ball game for the Lady Cats to get out of the district. What I'm interested to see, I think, in that if they get to that championship game is what did each team coach hold back the first time they played. Neither team, I guarantee you, Coach Allen nor Coach Peters showed their full hand that first game. So it'll be interesting to see what each team throws at the other one that they've not seen before.
Sure.
Little
cat and mouse game.
Yeah, cat and mouse game, and it'll be a good one. They're two good teams. The two best teams, really, girls teams in Southeast Missouri, really, right there.
And a rivalry. If there's any rivalry in Southeast Missouri when it comes to girls basketball, this is probably the rivalry between these two teams. It seems like they're playing the district championship every year in Class 4.
Well, they have the last 4 at least. 4 years ago, I believe, Notre Dame beat Dexter, and then the last 3, Dexter has defeated Notre Dame in the district championship game. So yeah, they know each other pretty well, and we've got 4 seniors who start. Like I said, Notre Dame has 8 seniors. Those kids know each other awful well, and they like to. They like to beat the other team. There's no question about it. It's a big rivalry. I agree.
Sure. And a very competitive district there to look forward to. And still one more week to play in Class 4. The Dexter Lady Bearcats got 2 more games. Jackson Monday night and Sykes
Thursday night, both at the Dexter Bearcat Event Center at 6 o'clock. And 2 good games, and those are both very important, not only leading up to the district, but Lady Cats are undefeated in the CMO Conference, and those 2 wins would give them the conference championship. The first time Dexter will ever won the conference championship 2 years in a row. So that's a big goal for the girls as well, I think.
Certainly. So keep up with the Dexter Lady Bearcats through the radio. Jim and his crew bring it to you on 90.3 KLUH FM. And we'll see what all turns out. It's going to be exciting here in the next few weeks.
Sure will. I'm looking forward to it.
Sure. And, Jim, we appreciate you stopping by today. I think it's the first time we've had you on.
It is.
To talk some basketball, and glad to have you on. And we'll be looking forward to seeing how things shake out here in the next few weeks. Very exciting. Probably the most fun time of the year if you're a high school basketball fan.
Absolutely. It's the best time of the year. I agree.
Sure.
I agree.
And we'll see you down the road. And, again, we appreciate you stopping by today.
All right. Thanks.
All right. And don't go anywhere. We're getting into the boys basketball district tournaments coming up, and we'll have Terry McVey and Tommy Jacques up next.
It's the small things in life that you tend to appreciate. The quality of care at CMO Health Network is no different. They focus on the small details with healthcare that make you feel good, so you can get back to enjoying the small things in no time. They have so many ways to take care of you with 8 locations serving rural communities in need of medical care, including dental facilities and an in-house laboratory.
You'll feel good about this. CMO Health Network.
What is your emergency? Need assistance at County Road 61 and Highway 9. Help is on its way.
Clear! There's a better way to jumpstart your soil back to health. Apply Endzone to protect and increase nitrogen efficiency without killing bacteria. Apply Prevent to increase phosphorus availability and reduce fixation. Better yet, use them both to get more from your fertilizer investment and see higher potential yields. Ag Explorer, your prescription for healthy soil.
And welcome back, and now we're back with the guys. The guys.
We're here again.
Here we are.
We're along with Terry McVey and Tommy Jacques, and we're here along to talk about some boys district tournaments coming up and getting underway this morning. We're already getting underway with some of these games, and guys, it's been a great season, hasn't it?
Oh, it sure has. I really haven't seen as much as I usually do, but I've seen enough, and it's been a fun season.
I mean, talking about last night, let's talk about this game before we get into all the district tournaments. Charleston and Poplar Bluff in the CMO Conference, and this game right here is just indicative of the CMO Conference this year. Poplar Bluff hovering right around 500. Charleston, probably the best team across southeast Missouri, especially after a win over Jackson. And, boy, they get beat by 26 last night in Poplar Bluff. And, Terry, you were there, so just give us the lowdown on this game last night.
You know, Poplar Bluff's a team that 2 weeks ago had lost like 8 games in a row. And they were pretty good, they're competitive games, and Poplar Bluff's a pretty good team, but they just took Charleston completely out of their game last night. Charleston couldn't buy a shot, but they weren't getting many very good shots. They couldn't hit free throws. They were Poplar Bluff took them completely out of their offense, and Charleston's usually the Charleston defense spurs so much of their offense. They score so many points off their defense. That wasn't happening last night. It was just a game that was completely dominated by Poplar Bluff. Charleston, when they were getting to the basket, weren't making very many shots. A lot of that was caused by Poplar Bluff's size underneath. Gibson was altering all their shots, and it was Poplar Bluff probably played their best game of the year, and just took Charleston completely out of the game. I mean, when Dale Bogan, I don't know if he got the double figures or not. When he doesn't score 25 or 30, you really shut him down, and they just shut down the Charleston offense. Charleston offense never got any continuity at all, and it was a really impressive performance by Poplar Bluff.
Yeah, Bluff's Bluff's a sleeper team. We got to see them when we did Poplar Bluff and Dexter this past week, and well, they got 2 solid players, especially if you mentioned Stacy Gibson, 6'7" kid underneath, and the Stocks kid, I think it's Chris Stocks, a really versatile guard, really athletic. He can do a little bit of everything. Boy, when those two are on at the same time, they're a tough team, and they got some pretty decent role players around them that do well in different parts of the game as well.
Yeah, and Gibson's really come on the last 2 or 3 weeks, scoring between 15 and 20 a game, and he clogs up the middle real well. He's not only 6'7", he's a long 6'7". He's long arms and good shot blocker. And then they've got a lot of good role players. They play. Coach Durden plays a lot of players. They've got They've got some guys that can shoot. They've got some really quick guards. One thing I was telling Tommy beforehand, a couple of Poplar Bluff guards were beating Sykes or Charleston's guards to the basket. You don't see that. And but it was happening last night, and Poplar Bluff's got that kind of team that they're going to cause some problems in Class 5.
Yeah, they certainly could, and certainly if you're Charleston, you don't want a loss like this later in the year. But hey, if you're going to suffer a loss, might as well take a licking and learn a little something from it to move on for the district tournament.
Yeah, maybe the wake up call. They lost 2 games in a row. It may be one of those slaps in the face that may wake them. Of course, they don't have to get up early this morning anyway, because I think they're playing right now. They played a 10:30 game this morning against Kelly down at Malden, so they had a short evening. But it was kind of an eye opener.
Yeah, and Cape Central beat Charleston earlier in the week as well. Cape Central, another one of those dangerous teams. And we'll talk a little bit about that later on as well. But the CMO Conference, I've never seen it so deep. It's a 9-team conference, and Dexter probably the team on the outside of the more competitive teams. 1 through 8, man, you take your pick, and you're going to have a tough game.
Oh yeah, I mean,
you take a look, and Poplar Bluff's probably right there. I don't know how the standings look, but they're probably around that 6 to 8 range, and they've knocked off the top team of the conference by 26. So that just shows you how competitive and deep that conference is this year.
Yeah, Poplar Bluff plays at Kennett Tuesday. That'll round up the regular season for both of those teams. But Kennett, especially the second part of the season, been losing some players. They're down, but they could have easily won at Cape. They only lost to Charleston before at Charleston. Like I said, I mean the whole conference up and down. Kennett beats New Madrid. New Madrid beats who all they've beaten this year.
Did they beat Notre Dame and they beat?
I'm not going to speak because
they beat Cape. Yeah. SEMO conference. That's about as good a conference as it's been.
Mm-hmm.
I think up in 1 through 9. I think it's as good a conference as it's been in a long, long time.
Yeah. And New Madrid lost by just I think maybe 7 points or so to Sykeston. Yeah, and it's just been. I don't want to speak who's beating who because likely you're going to get one of those wrong.
We can get
back and forth.
And
this year.
Tom and I have never been wrong before.
And if we do mess up or get wrong, we blame it on our age.
That's right. We can do that.
We're at that point.
Yeah. So. Great conference and this means going to be a lot of competitive districts coming in, actually getting underway today. So let's go ahead and get into the district tournaments. So we'll start with the small schools first, starting with Class 1, District 1 at Risco this year. And what a conference or what a district tournament this is going to be this year. Always a competitive tournament year in and year out. Clarkton with the number 1 seed coming in this year, taking on 8 seeded North Pemiscot. The 4 or 5 games, Gideon versus Naylor. 3 versus 6 is Delta C7 versus Southland, and 2 Risco taking on 7th seeded Koshkonong. And taking a look at this coming in, you're probably looking at 3 teams that really stand out: Clarkton, Risco, and Delta C7 making their way into the mix this year. They've played competitive games with both Clarkton and Risco. Notably, Clarkton defeated Risco earlier in the year, but Risco defeated Clarkton in the Tri-County Conference Tournament Championship just a few weeks ago there in Gideon. So just looking at it right now, Clarkton-Risco might be set up for a nice rubber match there in the district championship come this Thursday night. But
it's at Risco.
Yeah, and it's at Risco.
Well, you better get there early and keep your seat.
Yeah, get there early because watch them bouncing off the board.
And I really do. Nothing wrong with saying anything about Gideon or Delta C7, but I think it'll come down Clarkton-Risco, and I guess it's Clarkton-Risco 3, and so we'll see what happens. It's going to be a nice one. Clarkton has a nice team, and Risco is just so competitive, and they're at home. They're both teams well coached. I just look for a good game, and of course the winner of that's going to possibly have to. Well, we're going to have to play Scott County Central or Leopold, I think, in that next district.
Yeah,
the next round's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, and Risco and Clarkton. Clarkton's been on the outside of this district the past few years, and Gideon's been right there in the mix. But Clarkton coming back with a very competitive team this year. Dustin Ferguson's done a great job in his first year putting together this team, and they got some talent on this team. And Tommy, we've seen them a few times this year and playing quite well. Very energized bunch. They're hungry this year.
And that game down at Clarkton we did with Risco, really, Clarkton took Risco out of the game pretty quick, and they were in the passing lanes, they were taking the ball, and Clarkton's got a freshman, Emmanuel White, that's just pretty good. And I like to watch that kid play. Then they've got other players, and they got that Quan Elliott's a big kid that plays in there, and Clarkton has David Heeb, as the principal, so I'm sure he helps with it.
They have a little input?
Yeah, every once in a while. He knows just a little, I think, about it. I hate to steal any of his thunder, but I've got my attorney with me, David. So.
Well, Clarkton took Kennett to overtime Monday night. Kennett ended up winning the game, I think, by 2 on a last-second shot. But Clarkton did take Kennett to overtime Monday.
And the win last night over Hawcombe, Clarkton wins the regular season conference championship. They're in the Tri-County, so very impressive season for Clarkton. But Risco, They're the defending champions, maybe 3 or 4 years now. They've dominated this district the past handful of years, and they got it on their home court. They beat Clarkton handily in that conference tournament championship, so they're probably the team with the momentum going into this tournament, especially considering it's on their home court.
And that, there are home court advantages, and there are places that aren't home court advantages, but Risco is a home court advantage.
You bet. And, I love to watch Clarkton Risco because both of them bring a very energetic crowd.
That's a nice way to say it.
Thank you. I was searching for the words. But, it's pretty entertaining, not only on the court because these towns support their local basketball team. And I am just glad to sit on the stage. I'll just put it that way.
We got a good setup there. Yes, we do.
But they do. The towns really support these two. And good luck to either one of those teams. Or whoever wins that, we wish you well. But it's going to be good.
Yep, and we're going to bring that tournament final to you live Thursday night. That'll be Thursday night at 7:30. And we're going to bring that championship game to you live from Risco Thursday night here on YHC and SemoSportsZone.com. And that'll be one of the most entertaining district championships, whoever it comes down to. Very competitive. It'll be there in that Class 1 District 1, certainly. And let's go to the neighboring district, Class 1 District 2. And that's at Delta and Scott County Central. Going to have the number 1 seed taking on McKinley with the 8th seed. The 4th seed Bell City taking on 5th Richland. 3rd Oak Ridge taking on 6th Fulton School. And the 2 seed Leopold taking on 7th Delta. So what stands out in this tournament, Scott County Central and Leopold in the district title last year. Last year was supposed to be Leopold's year. Scott County Central beat them, moved on as they typically do. But Leopold brings back another strong team this year, and Scott County's strong as ever, probably stronger than last year. They bring back most of their team from last year. A hungry bunch in Scott County this year. They didn't make it out to the Final Four, lost to the eventual state champion Eminence Red Wings, and a very hungry bunch led by Lorandos Banks, probably one of the top guards in southeast Missouri.
A beautiful shot, beautiful jump shooter. And, I was just looking at Leopold Delta. They played last night in a regular season game, and Leopold beat them by 60. And then they're going to match up again today in the tournament. And
that's two top 10 state teams.
You bet.
In Scott Central and Leopold. That's pretty good in one district, man. And that's going to be a good final.
That's going to be. You bet it is. And I would say that's going to be the final. Scott County Central and Leopold. I'd say they're going to get out there.
Yeah.
And either one of those teams is going to be a load for anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I don't think Leopold's played Scott County this year. I might be inaccurate in saying that, but I don't think they played last year either. But if you're a team like Leopold, you need to play teams like Scott County. You need to play them so you can prepare for them, because they're a tough team to prepare for. And Coach Blankenship down at Risco will tell you that playing them and seeing them seeing how they play, it's a whole lot easier to prepare for them the next time. And that's how they've played more competitively with them as the years have gone on there at Risco. But it's tough to match up against them for the first time, especially in a district tournament game. It's a lot to prepare for in one game. And with Leopold, their kids coming back from last year, playing them last year, they might have a little bit more preparation coming into this year and might see a more competitive game this year. But Scott County, I think, is the team that's theirs to lose at this point with the team that they've got this year and the talent they've got on that team.
And I think that's a very good point you make about in your scheduling, that you really want to schedule as many district teams as you can, and I would think it would behoove Leopold to put Scott Central on the schedule just to get used to their style, because it's
much different than any other Class 1 team we're going to play.
There's some shock and awe there when you first play Scott Central, the way they play, and I think it would be good scheduling to put them on the regular season schedule.
Sure. So that Class 1 District 2 at Delta this year, and over the past few years, it's certainly come down to Scott County Central and Leopold. We'll see how it shakes out this next week. And moving up to Class 2 District 1, I think that's the next tournament we've got up next. Class 2 District 1 at Bloomfield, and this is probably the tournament to watch, guys. Bernie with the number 1 seed, and they'll take on the winner of Campbell and Cooter, who's playing today, the 8 and 9 seed game. Fourth, Holcomb taking on fifth, Portageville. Third, South Pemiscot taking on sixth, St. Hornersville, and second, Hayti taking on seventh, Bloomfield. And this was a fun tournament to watch last year because from the semifinal round on, you didn't know what was going to happen. Most of these tournaments you can kind of see how they'll play out all the way to the title game, but this year, a lot like last year, those semifinal games are going to be fun to watch, and certainly the finals.
This is going to be a fun tournament. It's at Bloomfield, which is as far as I'm concerned, the classic high school gym in this area. You got three, and don't completely discount Holcomb. They've got a pretty decent team. They can give Bernie some problems in the semis, but South Pim and Hayti, you're looking realistically probably at Bernie, South Pim, or Hayti, but then just put them in a hat and shake it and try to figure out who's going to come out of it. Hayti's kind of an enigma because of the talent they have, and they play differently than Bernie and South Pim. Hayti has the size where South Pim and Bernie, have the quickness, speed, and outside shooting. So it's different styles. Who knows what's going to come out of that one?
And South Pim was last year coming into, I think, the 4 seed, or no, maybe even the 5 seed. I'm not exactly sure. Last year they were one of the 4 or 5 seeds in the tournament. Took Bernie all the way to the wire, and they really turned some heads last year and bringing a lot of that talent back this year. South Pemiscot, I don't think they're going to slip up on anybody this year. They slipped up on Hayti and defeated them in the semifinals as the top seed. Hayti looked like they were going to have a good shot at winning that district last year, which they do once again this year. But South Pemiscot, I don't think they're going to have the luxury of sneaking up on anybody this year, but they're going to be competitive throughout this tournament.
Of course, I've always said Hayti has talent year after year. You never know who's going to show up when Hayti gets there. They could win it all and win the state tournament. They could do that. They have the ability to do that. Or sometimes they have the ability to, it's like a train that runs off a track. And that's not being nothing sarcastic to them, but I like South Pim and I like Bernie and I like Hayti in that tournament. So that semifinal is going to be fun.
Certainly will
and
be.
You were talking about last year, St. Hornersville was leading Bernie at half last year up there in the I guess that was the semifinal round. Coach Hebe coached them. Yeah.
First round,
yeah, they was leading them at half. And Bernie came out and put them away in the second half a little bit. But this time of the year, anything's happening, everybody's leaving it on the court. They're getting out there, they're doing the best. Some of these teams bringing up some junior varsity players that helps them. You never know. You never know. Bernie, with that number 1 seed, that's definitely a plus.
Yeah. You got the path of least resistance there,
right?
Certainly. So
yeah, and then if I think a good preview to that district is game you all did, the Bernie Hayti game a couple of weeks ago, and Bernie just took Hayti out of their game. I mean, Bernie's defense just took Hayti completely out of the game, and Hayti got flustered, and Bernie had a pretty sizable win, but Hayti is one of those teams that if they get on a roll and they get in their rhythm, like you said, they could be in Columbia.
You bet. Yeah. If you let them dictate their style of play, they're going to get you. But Bernie and Coach Botch, Coach Long, you give them a couple of days to prepare, they're going to come up with a game plan, and they did. And there stood the big Burton kids out there, and you thought, just to look at, if you walked in and didn't know, you would think, well, this Hayti team's going to win this ball game. The size alone, but my, what a game! And hats off to Bernie that night. They really played an excellent game, and their outside shooting was on. And I just wish they had Ellenberg back, but things happen.
And you can say, okay, well, this team beat this team, and this is the way it's going to shake out. But well, at least probably all of these teams in this tournament, especially in Class 2, but namely Hayti and South Pim and even Bernie have really went through the gauntlet. With a lot of these rescheduled games due to the snow, they piled up these games night after night consecutively, and I think Hayti went through a gauntlet of like 4 or 5 games in 1 week, and South Pim the same because they played their conference tournament in that same week. So they really had a lot put on their plate, and it's hard to gauge when they're at their best, when they're playing these teams, when you're going through a gauntlet like that through a week. So, like, you talk about this Bernie Hayti game. Bernie was as good as we've seen him all year.
Exactly.
Execution was excellent, in both facets of the game, defensively, offensively. And then a couple of nights later, they fought a Malden.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show you how, things can change in a hurry with all these teams. And a lot of that could be contributed to playing so many games in a short period of time and leaving the door open for Malden to take advantage.
Exactly. And, of course, I know we'll get to the class, but Malden's improved since the first of the season. They're playing very well, and they're a young team. And, they play juniors and sophomores. And one senior, I think, plays a lot. But, you would thought the way Bernie played against Hayti that it wouldn't be much of a ball game, but you never know. That's why they play them,
Yeah, man. Hayti's split a couple. I think they've played, 4 times now?
I think
Hayti
right.
and South Bend, I think they've split 2 and 2, if I have that right. And
Tommy, you're not saying that 17, 18-year-old high school boys can be unpredictable.
Well, some of them.
So,
now, mine never were.
Inconsistent. Yeah, I never had that.
But as you said that, I hate to see people be too critical of those.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But they're 17, 18-year-old kids.
Well, they make mistakes. I remember, I still make a few. And I'm a little bit older than that. Aren't we, Terry?
Yeah, just a little bit. One thing to get back to, we talked about scheduling. One thing I like that Bernie's done the last few years is towards the end of the season scheduling up. Mm-hmm. They'll play Notre Dame. They played Sykeston last night. They played against Sykeston's press at Sykeston. That's you get used to something like that. You can handle Hayti's press at Bloomfield. And I think I think they've done a real good job of scheduling up towards the end of the season the last few years.
Yeah, they play their most competitive ball at the end of the season, certainly, when you want to be doing that. And once again this year, Class 2 District 1, one thing to mention about Bernie, kind of a shuffle in their lineup this year. Caleb Ellenberg, probably their best offensive weapon. He's likely out for the year if I don't have that down correctly. Last time we saw him, he was walking around in crutches, so we'd probably say he's going to be out. And but Troy Kirkpatrick, the kid they missed, probably their best offensive guard out front. He's worked his way back into the lineup after nagging knee injury. He's worked his way back in, played quite well at the times when we've seen him. He's got some conditioning to get through. He's not playing all the minutes in the game, but as soon as the weeks go on, he can get more conditioned to play that full game. But at least they get him back in that rotation. Even though you're going to miss Caleb Ellenberg, especially underneath with the interior scoring, but at least they got Kirkpatrick back in the mix. And that's one thing that Bernie's going to like, is that real tough inside presence scoring wise. Joey Walker does a fine job down there defensively and rebounding. It's just the offense they're going to miss from Caleb Ellenberg, and they've got to have a very efficient night in all facets, especially offensively, shooting the ball, hitting free throws to be effective. But they're a team to do it, and that's basically what you're going to see going into a game with Bernie, how to take them out of their game.
Yeah, Kirkpatrick gives them that extra three-point dimension. Jennings is a good three-point shooter, but Jennings does Jennings is kind of the key to the offense from the games I've seen with Bernie, especially because he can shoot the outside shot, but then he can also penetrate and dish, and that's where Bernie's going to be beating people.
Yeah, Jake Wagner's stepped up quite an outside threat this year as well. You got kids that are out there, J.R. Pringle, Bubby Schwint, do all the things that they need to do on both sides of the ball, rebound, play defense, and limit the turnovers. Seems like they've got 8-9 kids they throw out there, and they all play their position well and execute on both sides of the floor. So that's one team that probably has the advantage when it comes to the tenacity they can bring towards the game, because they can play so many kids and they stay after you for 32 full minutes.
And that's one thing, and Bernie's always done a good job of playing a lot of people. And even though, this time of year your bench gets a little shorter, your rotations get a little longer, your bench gets a little shorter. But if you have somebody gets in foul trouble, if you do have somebody having an off night, you got somebody else that's played a lot of minutes and it's played a lot of pressure minutes, and you can put them in there and rely on them, and that always serves you well this time of year.
Certainly. Yeah, so very competitive district tournament final, or not only final, but full tournament from top to bottom going in that Class 2 District 1 at Bloomfield. We're going to carry that final this coming Friday night, the 28th, and that'll be at 7:30. We'll bring that one live to you here on YHC and SemoSportZone.com. It's going to be fun to watch that tournament, especially coming down to that final Friday evening. And moving ahead to Class 2 District 2 in the neighboring district at Van Buren. And we've got Thayer, the number 1 seed, taking on 8 Greenville, 4 Puxico taking on 5 Neelyville, 3 Couch taking on 6 Van Buren, 2 Winona taking on 7 East Carter County. And this is just over the way in Class 2 District 2. And haven't seen most of these teams here with the exception of Puxico and Van Buren, but Thayer and Winona leading the way in the seeds in that tournament. And Winona had a very good season last year, knocked off Bernie in the sectional round. Right. And Thayer right there in the top 10 in Class 2 in the state poll. So should be a pretty competitive tournament out west there in Van Buren.
Now, Thayer's been beating everybody over there, and beating them fairly well. Now, in this one, if you're going to say anybody's the possible sleeper, I wouldn't discount Puxico completely.
Yeah, they've played well.
They've played well recently, and they're getting a lot of balanced scoring, much more so than what, say, in the Christmas tournament when they were relying mostly on 1 or 2 guys to do their scoring. Notice that they're getting more balanced scoring, and I wouldn't completely discount Puxico in this one. But Thayer, I think, is the team to beat.
I think you're right, Terry.
Sure. And, boy, that matches up a very competitive sectional game, as it was last year, Winona and Bernie.
Right.
And, coming into this year, it'll be a slugfest as well. Usually you get the more physical team over in that District 2, neighboring District 2. A lot different than the District 1. District 1, you'll get a lot of the speed and athleticism. At Class 2, you're going to get a muscled-up team in Thayer or even Winona with some size, some bulk, and just a different breed of basketball they bring out west out there, it seems like.
Remember the game we saw 2 years ago with Thayer and Haytai?
Yeah.
That went, triple overtime?
Yeah.
Man, that was a great basketball game.
It certainly was.
But Thayer was very physical then, and that was just a great basketball game. And like I said, some of those teams come out of the hills. They've been working the sawmills.
Right, exactly. And they don't mind bumping.
They don't mind bumping. They don't mind bumping with somebody just a little bit.
And this Puxico team, they've got some horses out there too.
They do. Yeah, they'll bump back.
And so I agree with you. Puxico is keep an eye on them, and I sure would like to see Puxico going out through there.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see who comes out of that District 2 as well. And let's go up to, what's the next one? We've got Class 2 District 3, and that was just north of us here. And Oran, the top seed, will take on Valley of Caledonia there. 4 Southern Reynolds taking on 5 Bismarck, 3 Advance versus 6 Meadow Heights, and 2 Chaffee versus 7 Viburnum. And pretty good little mix there with Oran, Chaffee, and Advance. And pretty good little tournament there. Oran, another good season as they went out to the Final Four last year, come away with 4th place in Class 2. Should be a competitive tournament there, even with Chaffee and Advance in the mix.
Exactly. I like all those teams. I watched all those teams play a little bit, except Chaffee. I haven't seen them. I'm sorry. Advance, I was impressed with him at the tournament here in Dexter, the Stoddard County tournament. And they've sure got one of the premier players around. And I can't even call his name now, but you know who I'm talking about. What is it?
Bello?
Yeah, Ballou.
Yeah,
nice player, and that's gonna be interesting, that tournament.
Yeah, and it's on Chaffee's home court. And if Chaffee gets out to the semifinal round with Advance, could prove beneficial to them to have it on their home court.
Chaffee has one real nice player too. I've just seen highlights. Thanks, Reynolds I believe is his name, but and it's at Chaffee. So, and Oran, they haven't been totally consistent this year. So, kind of like Advance. I mean,
Really?
there's a team to watch there is Advance. They're beating some people recently, and you look at the last 3-4 weeks. Advance been playing pretty good ball.
Exactly right. Bernie was just what, a point or two over Advance early in the season, and I kind of thought that would probably in the Stoddard County tournament would come down to Advance and Bernie, but somebody knocked Advance off. And so,
Yeah, the Woodland.
Yeah, Woodland had a nice run there that Woodland did, but Advance got a nice team.
Yeah, so we'll see. Sure look forward to Class 2 District 3 at Chaffee. And moving up to Class 3, District 1, and very competitive tournament. This has been over the years, and Charleston with the number 1 seed taking on 8th Kelly, 4 Twin Rivers taking on 5th Malden, 3 New Madrid County Central versus 6 East Prairie, and 2 Crothersville taking on 7 Doniphan. And the 3 teams that are pretty much at the top of this district, Charleston, Crothersville, and New Madrid County Central. Charleston beating both of those teams and deservedly the number 1 seed and the favorite coming into this tournament. But man, it's going to be interesting in this tournament, especially with the threat of New Madrid County Central and Crothersville potentially in this tournament.
I think the first round today, best game of the day is going to be the Twin Rivers and Malden. Malden beat them earlier over at their place, and of course Twin Rivers they got a nice team. They're going to come loaded today, but I think the other teams is going to, as seeding goes, they're going to pass right on out. And it wouldn't surprise me. New Madrid, I was really, really impressed with New Madrid the other night we did that game. They're certainly not a team to overlook. Odds-on favorite has got to be Charleston, but I'm not going to count out Crothersville and New Madrid yet.
Well, you sure can't count out Crothersville. No. I mean, they've got Darryl Monroe, and they don't just have Darryl Monroe. They have a lot of talent on that Crothersville team. But the New Madrid game that you all did the other night, I was very impressed with New Madrid. And one of the comments Tyler made during that game is that New Madrid seems to have somebody in each position to fill each position. They got the big guy, guy underneath that can rebound. Of course, you got Jimerson, who's one of the premier players in Southeast Missouri out on the point. You got a couple of three-point guys. You got the other what's the freshman guard's name?
Jamarcus Word has stepped up and played well as a freshman. 5'5" freshman.
Yeah.
Say that.
Yeah, and and he can complement Jimerson. New Madrid's, I think, as the years progressed, has turned into a pretty good team, and I wouldn't discount them for a minute.
Yeah, taking a look at their lineup. Ashton Newsom stands about 6'3", 6'4" underneath. Very physical, strong, good hands. Finishes well underneath, rebounds well. And I think he's really stepped up with the loss of Haney and McGlosson last year. Those are 2 big guys that New Madrid lost last year. It's like, man, they're really going to miss those guys. And very good players. But Ashton Newsom's really stepped up and filled that void from last year underneath. And, of course, Jimerson, he's going to have his way most of the time out front. They lost one of their guards. I can't remember what was that. Was that Dre Wilson they lost?
I think that's right.
Dre Wilson they lost, and this Jamarcus Word, this freshman coming in, he's a little slasher. Boy, he gets into the paint, he can knock down the outside shot, and out on the perimeter they got 2 good shooters in Drew Palmer and Kyle Causey. If you hit them when they're spot up, they can knock it down. They've got that threat outside, and Michael Walker's a good off guard, plays good defense, creates turnovers. It's a solid team at every position. It's not as if they've got Jimerson and then everybody else is standing and watching, and it's the Jimerson show. They've really developed well over the year, and coming into this district tournament, they could be maybe position for position, maybe probably right at the best with Charleston, but they've got to execute offensively. They've got to execute. If they have an off night offensively, it's going to be a tough go for them. But they've definitely got a team to compete well in the district tournament coming in to this week.
Yeah, they've got the pieces in place,
Yeah.
and they do have to execute. And like I said, at the first of the year, it was the Jimerson show from New Madrid, but now they've got the pieces in place that they put the puzzle together.
Yeah, and Crothersville, Well, I'd say you got to stay out in front of Crothersville.
Mm-hmm.
Once they're confident, they get out to a lead. They got, I mean, things are just working. They've got the transition buckets going. They're getting turnovers. You don't want to get behind them because once they're ahead of you, they got that confidence going, and they just seem to play with a swagger once they're in that, in the lead and with that confidence. You certainly want to stay out in front of them because, well, when that train gets to going, they're hard to stop.
As Terry said earlier, Daryl Monroe is a load in himself, but there's some other cats that play on that team. I was looking where they played someone the other day, and they had four of their players was double figures, and they're going to get that the style they play. And then, you got Malik Monroe coming off the bench, Daryl's little brother. And little brother, he's about, 6'3" or so, and he's pretty good in there, too.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a lot like Vontre Jones at New Madrid. Vontre drops in there and gives a lot of pretty good minutes, off the bench for New Madrid. So, I like to watch Crothersville play. As a fan, I love to watch them because they get it and go.
Mm-hmm.
But
and there's two ways to stay. You got to stay in front of Crothersville. One with the score, and one you got to get down the court and stay in front of them too, or they're going to be throwing an 80-foot pass to somebody making a layup.
Yeah, you can't lax because they're going to bring it.
Yeah, one thing Crothersville's going to have to do in this district tournament, they're going to have to defend and defend well. You go up against New Madrid and Charleston, they can score,
right,
but you've got to be able to defend because it's going to be hard to outscore Charleston and New Madrid in the over the course of a game. But if they defend well, they're going to be right there in the mix.
One thing that the Mullen team, I love to hear these kids because Mullen, as I say, they were young. Their main objective now, they want to get by this first round because they want to play Charleston, and that's good. That's good that you want to play the better team. And as Coach Ice would always say, you got them. Now see what you do with them. But it's going to be interesting down there, I'll say that.
Yeah, good tournament.
I think it's going to be really good tournament.
I do too. Yeah, I really do.
And that final will be Thursday night at 7:30 at Malden. Should be a great final, whoever it comes down to be there in Malden Thursday night. And moving up to Class 3 District 2 in that neighboring district in Class 3. Taking a look at that one. That one's going to be out west at Clearwater. And Clearwater is the number 1 seed, defending district champion there, taking on 8th-seeded Scott City, 4th-seeded St. Pius, taking on 5th Saxony Lutheran, 3rd Arcadia Valley versus 6th Jefferson, 2 West County taking on 7th Woodland. And taking a look at this, Clearwater, the defending champion, got the number 1 seed on their home court, so that bodes well for them. But they're in the mix. West County, Arcadia Valley, haven't seen them this year. Can't really say a whole lot about what they're going to bring to this tournament, but just looking at this tournament, Clearwater having on their home court, defending champion, looks good. But Clearwater got beat by Twin Rivers in their conference tournament over Ozark Foothills tournament. So this district might be a little bit more competitive than it may seem.
I think you're right, and Clearwater's been beating a lot of teams, beating most of everybody they're playing. Mm-hmm. But again, they got beat by Twin Rivers on a neutral court. But I think it's Clearwater's to lose. I mean, they're on their home court and they're a very good team. But again, it's this time of year.
That's exactly right. Look at Woodland, what they did in the Stoddard County. You
never
know.
Yeah, Woodland beats
that's one thing.
You never know.
That ball out west and northwest, teams really come out of there with really good records, and they kind of seem better than they are, especially Arcadia Valley, Clearwater. They'll come out with 2 or 3 losses in a season. Boy, man, they look good. Mm-hmm. And then they play, in the sectional round of the tournament from kind of these Boot Hill teams don't look so, look so dangerous. So, Woodland, their record's going to be roughed up a little bit, but they've been playing a lot of teams in this area, in Stoddard County. Mm-hmm. And in this area, as a 7th seed taking on West County, that might be a game. I have no idea what West County has. I can't speak to what they have, but just looking at that matchup, what Woodland's played this year and how well they've looked at times, they could be a dangerous team.
Not taking anything away from Clearwater because they got to have a good team to win is like that. I don't know who they've beaten. I don't know all the teams they beat. I know who Charleston, New Madrid, and Crothersville has been playing, and they play some pretty tough competition. And Notre Dame, Cape Girardeau, Saxon, and each other, just beating around on each other during the year, And so I would say whoever comes out of that better be prepared because this District 1 is going to be tough.
Yeah, and Clearwater faced Charleston last year. Clearwater gave Charleston a
Yes,
pretty good
they did.
game. They played competitive. They came to play, and Charleston got them in the end, but it was a good game. And Clearwater certainly came to play and played quite well. It's just, talent will just take over at some point. That was the case last year in that Class 3 sectional. And that'll wrap up Class 3, the classes 1 through 3. We're going to take a quick break and come back with Class 4 and 5, talk about those larger school district tournaments coming up. So don't go away.
Okay, you're hooked up and ready to go.
New Wave knows you're excited about sports, so now's a great time to get connected with the Triple Play Package. Crystal clear TV, high-speed internet, and telephone for only $99.99 a month for 12 months. With New Wave Communications, you've got game. In addition to unlimited calling, New Wave telephone users have a wide range of great phone features available. And now with the help of New Wave Internet, they're even easier to use thanks to our convenient online phone manager. Just log on to your MyWave portal. Now phone features like call forwarding can be set up instantly from any computer. Reliably activate or deactivate your call forwarding. And even set your home phone to ring once when a call is forwarded. Home telephone service made even better with New Wave Communications. Call today.
And we're back, and now we're going to touch on classes 4 and 5 district tournaments getting underway, not this week, but the following week. Class 4 and 5's got one more week in their season. They'll follow their district tournaments after classes 1 through 3. And starting with Class 5 up north all the way around St. Louis at Seckman. Jackson, very good season this year, win the CMO Conference regular season title after last night. They'll take on the winner of Fox and Seckman. And second seeded Oakville will take on third seeded Poplar Bluff in that semifinal. And what a season by the Jackson Indians this year. Only one loss in the CMO Conference against Charleston, and I think they're going to be the champions. They might have a couple more conference games this year, but even if they got a couple conference games this next week, if they win out conference champions this year, and it shouldn't be too much of a surprise. Jackson made it out to the quarterfinals in Class 5 last year, and they followed up with a nice season once again this year.
Well, they've got size and they've got guards. I mean, they've got a pretty complete package. They're really big, but then they've got some guys that can light it up from outside, and they got guys that can defend. Jackson's a good team. Probably as good a team as there is in Southeast Missouri. I think they're probably they won the CMO Conference. If you win the CMO Conference, I think you can rightly lay claim to saying you're the best team. So, Jackson's good, really good.
And they like you said, they've got the size and they've got guards, and that's what you need, especially in Class 5. You get up into the state tournament, boy, the size really overwhelms once you've got consistent 6'5", 6'6", 6'7" players in the post. And they've got that. They've got the big kids, and they've got the efficient guards with efficient guard play. And, especially in Class 5, that's a tough go, but made a good run last year, made it out to the quarterfinals, and set to make a pretty good run this year. But the only thing is they got to make a pretty good haul to play their district games up there, even though it's not as far since they're all the way up at Jackson, making their way up to Seckman. But set up for a pretty good run again this year.
I think so.
Yeah, they've got the name player in Carson King, and they've got a lot of good role players, and they've got their size, and they got guys who can light it up from beyond the arc. They're good. But as we were talking about earlier, Poplar Bluff's in that same district, and Poplar Bluff's playing very well. And Poplar Bluff sometimes is kind of an enigma. They lost 8 games in a row, and they're mostly competitive games, but they go very deep and shorten the bench a little bit, and they've got guys that can play. They play defense. They took Charleston completely out of their offense last night, and they got beat by Cape. Game I saw 3 weeks ago, I guess it was, and Poplar Bluff should have won that game. Cape won right at the end, but they did the same thing with Cape, and so Poplar Bluff can play with anybody in that district.
Yeah, so Poplar Bluff's going to be a nice sleeper team in there. Might be able to make some noise in that tournament. Certainly got the team at this point of the season to make a good run and potentially play for a district championship. So we'll see how that tournament shakes out there. And then right around St. Louis, there's Seckman, that Class 5 District 1 tournament. And working back way down to Class 4 District 1, that tournament is probably already seeded, but here's the 6 teams to look forward to in this Class 4 District 1 tournament. Dexter, Notre Dame, Kennett, Cape Central, Perryville, and Sikeston. Sikeston likely to come away with that number 1 seed. They've beaten the other teams there in the Class 4 district. Cape Central and Notre Dame, I'm not really sure how they might stack up for that number 2 seed at this point. Right there, they'll probably make up the 2 and 3 seeds. Kennett might be right there at the number 4. From there, probably Dexter at 5. Dexter defeated Perryville a couple weeks ago, and Perryville will probably round that out at 6. So you're looking at probably, Sikeston with that first round bye, they'll probably play the winner of Kennett and Dexter, and then the 2 seed, either Notre Dame or Cape Central. I'm not sure how those stack up against each other. But that 3-6 game will likely be either Notre Dame and Cape Central versus Dexter, the winner taking on either Notre Dame or Cape Central there in that semifinal. So this will be a great tournament to watch too. You got Sikeston, Notre Dame, and Cape.
I think those are the 3 teams. I think 3-4 weeks ago, Kennett would be in the mix, but Cavante Mitchell's out, and when you lose arguably one of the best players that ever played in the program, I think it's down to those 3 teams between Notre Dame. And I don't really know, like Notre Dame, I think Notre Dame and Sikeston have split this year. Notre Dame beat Sikeston in the SEMO tournament. And
Sikeston avenged that loss just a few weeks later.
Yeah, and then Sikeston turned around and beat Notre Dame in regular season play. Cape Central they've got, you talk about somebody that's got size, they've got 6'6", 6'7", and talent with 6'6" and 6'7".
2 big
Cox
guys,
and
Jamal Cox and Statham. I've been very impressed with Statham. I only got to see him once this year in the River Bend, but boy, even early on in the season, he's tough, and he's probably the best all-around talent when you talk about size, speed, quickness, the whole package. He's probably the best talent.
Well, when Cape beat Kennett 2 or 3 weeks ago at Cape, Statham hits a 3-pointer to win the game. I mean, that's what he can do. One of the problems I think Cape had early on this year, and they were very inconsistent, was with their guard play. They didn't have any guards that could really score. But this sophomore Jones has come along and playing a lot better and playing very well, and he's given them an outside threat that they really didn't have earlier in the season. I think that's made them a better team. And of course, Cox is a very athletic, very talented inside force. Statham can play inside, outside. Then they're playing on Cape's home floor, so that's Cape's going to be very dangerous in that. Notre Dame's always going to be dangerous because they play. They've got talent, plus they play very disciplined basketball. And Sikeston's the elephant in the elephant in the room because they're Sikeston. They may not have Deshaun Ruffin this year and some of the other guys they had last year, but they still have J.T. Jones. Dominic Dyes has come up as a sophomore and really given them a good scoring threat from outside, and he's throwing in about 15 a game, and as always, Sikeston's playing defense.
Yeah.
And they run you all over the court.
You got to beat Sykeston to win the district. I think that's what it's going to come down to. And Greg Hallfield, their staff, they've probably had the most consistent program over the handful of years, and they've got a state title and undefeated season to show for it, and state tournament appearances since then. Even last year, just a possession away from making the state championship game. And speaking of JT Jones, another guy, they got Dyes and also Reese Porter and a couple other kids mixed in there. They're right there once again, and some teams, they just have that kind of mystique about them. They might not be as strong as they've been, but as good as they're still going to be, you've got to overcome them. And it'll be the same case this year. And you talk about Cape Notre Dame, Cape Central, and Sykeston. That's going to be the mix. But I tell you, Kennett, heartbreaking season to me. They were really playing well, and you talk about the way that Antavius Drake's come on this year, the way he's really stepped up his game.
He sure has.
And losing Nelson earlier in the year, the way he was playing at that time, and Cavante Mitchell he's taken it to another level. They don't have a whole lot of size, but man, it seemed like they were making it up with their defense, their tenacity, and especially their backcourt play with Drake, Nelson, and Mitchell. And then when you lose Mitchell, it's just the wind. Well, it gets taken out of your sails at that point.
The last 5 games he played, he scored 30 or better. And that's what the defense is concentrated almost exclusively on him. He's still scoring 30. Against Charleston, he scores 35 with 26 rebounds. Now that's a special player, and you lose that. That's, like I said, it's kind of takes the breath out of the season.
Yeah.
But Kennett's been good to watch this year.
And if they're at full strength, boy, these semifinal matchups are going to be fun to watch. With like you said, Notre Dame, Cape Central, Sykeston, and Kennett was going to be right there in that semifinal mix, I thought, and it's going to be really fun to watch. But man, that's just a tough break for Kennett, Coach Jim Vaughn, and everyone down there.
The Kennett Sykeston semifinal last year was a really good game, and Kennett had just about everybody back. I was really looking forward to the district, but and you were talking about Sykeston, that there's kind of a mystique about Sykeston. It hadn't been that many years ago that wasn't true.
That's right, exactly. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah, we were talking about that before we came on, that it wasn't that many years ago. People were pretty well beaten up on Sykeston, but they've developed a program there, and since Coach Hollifield has gotten there, they've developed a consistent program to where they had the mystique like Charleston has the mystique. You start the first year, okay, Charleston's going to be great. We know that. Sykeston, now you say Sykeston, Sykeston and Charleston, okay, let's put those aside. We can take those for granted. They're going to be really, really good teams. And they've just built those programs like that, with the consistent leadership. And
I think Kennett is coming along.
Kennett's getting there.
Kennett's building. You win ball games by having a good team, but you win championships by building a good program. Kennett's got a good program.
Kennett has developed a program that's and it's doing the same thing like they do in Charleston.
Exactly.
And Sykeston is that, 5th and 6th graders, the high school coaches are involved with the younger kids, and it develops a program throughout the system. And
hey, once you create that, especially from a coaching standpoint and from the leadership, once you create that expectation that you are to play at a certain level, that's when it changes. That's when your programs are consistent. When kids come in, when it's middle school coming into high school, that there's an expectation that you are to play at this level.
Right.
That's when you take it to the next level.
When
the kids buy in.
You have a down year, you're still good.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And I always consider them now as the triangle over there. You got Charleston, you got Sykeston, Scott County Central. When you think of that, you think of good basketball.
Yeah. And we left out of the discussion here Notre Dame, and they're a team capable
consistently
of
good
knocking you off in this district tournament. We saw them make a run in the conference tournament to start off the year. Made a great run to that district or not district, but that conference tournament championship, and they're a team that, you know, it seems like you always know what you're getting with Notre Dame. You're going to get a very consistent, efficient team, and you're going to have to play efficiently to beat them, because that's what they're going to bring. They don't have the lowest of lows. It seems like you know they're even keeled probably more than any team around. You know, they're going to play the most consistent. They might have the highest of highs, but man, they're going to be consistent, and you're going to have to play well to beat them. You know, they're not going to have a really bad game. They're not. You can't expect them to take them out of their game necessarily.
And and you have to play under control to beat them. And you know, a lot of teams are good teams, but sometimes they get out of control. But the teams like Notre Dame, they give the non-controlled teams so much problems, because if you get out of control, Notre Dame will just pound you and pound you and pound you with their, like I said, with their consistency and their efficiency. I like that word a lot. When you think about Notre Dame, they're very efficient, and they will bite you if you don't stay in control.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, they're kind of like they say the war of attrition. That's what Notre Dame plays by. You might lead for 3.5 quarters, but they're playing towards the end of the game, and they're playing for a full 4 quarters, and in the end, they're going to be right there in the end. So that's your Class 4 District 1 to look forward to. We don't have the seedings. That'll be determined today, so we'll be looking forward to seeing how all that shakes out, and it's going to be fun to watch, guys. It's the favorite time of year if you're a high school basketball fan, and it's upon us starting today.
We're always here at the first of the season, Terry, and we're always here at the last. Hopefully, we can continue this.
I like that. I like that idea a lot.
As a preacher, where I go to church, James Powell always said, "I like that."
I like that. So I like that idea. Yeah, it's spring training. It's sun shining.
Yeah, we get some
and it's
warm,
district basketball time.
Oh yes, it's great.
Snow's finally melted.
It's great.
Like most places it has.
So, a lot to look forward to, and we're going to be bringing quite a few district state tournament games this next week. You can look forward to the Class 1 District 1 Boys Final from Risco at 7:30. We're going to bring that one live to you. Tommy and I will be there. What I think it's Seth McBroom, call it the Hot Box, I think. It's known as the Hot Box. Seth McBroom labeled that, so we'll go with that one from Seth McBroom. We'll be there at the Roy Hahn Gymnasium Thursday night. Friday night we'll be at Bloomfield, the Class 2 District 1 Boys Final. There at Bloomfield, we'll bring that one live to you. And the next week, we're going to look to bring you the Class 3 sectional from here in Dexter that next Wednesday night, and the night before, Tuesday night, Class 1 sectional at Bloomfield. From Bloomfield there that Tuesday night. Then the next Saturday, I'm going to try to get these in order. The next Friday, we're going to intend to bring you the Class 4 District 1 Boys and Girls Final from Cape Central. We're not certain at that, but we're going to certainly intend to bring that one to you from Cape next Friday. That Saturday, we'll have, trying to help myself out here, the Class 1 quarterfinal. Class 1 quarterfinals here in Dexter that next Saturday. And the following week, the next Wednesday, we're going to carry the Class 4 sectionals over in Poplar Bluff at Three Rivers College. That'll be the boys and girls Class 4 sectional. And then the following Saturday, the Class 4 quarterfinal, both boys and girls from Farmington. So a lot more games to get to for this district and state tournament run for classes 1 through 4. We're carrying 1 through 4 games for district and state tournament play. So, guys, here we go, and get ready, and we're looking forward to it, and it's always fun. The road to Columbia and the state championships in Columbia this year, so it's going to be another good run.
Always is.
Southeast Missouri will be trying to send them something up there.
We will. I'm confident Southeast Missouri will send somebody good.
And be prepared. We're coming to play, right, Terry?
We are.
Certainly. And, guys, appreciate you coming up today and spending some time with us, and we'll be looking forward to some district basketball this week and eventually state tournament play in just another week or so. So Well, they'll be along with us, so they're not going home and just sitting back and watching. They'll be along for the ride.
We've came too far.
That's right. That's right. And we'll do it.
Yes, we will. We always have fun.
Yes, we do.
All right.
Well, how can you not have fun?
Exactly.
It's high school basketball. It's great basketball.
Right.
And it's how can you not have fun watching this and doing this?
And you and I have talked about that. We love high school basketball.
Oh, yeah.
We love it. And the most purest form of basketball, in my opinion,
and this is the best time of year for high school basketball because it's all, it's one and done now.
That's right. And, personally, I want to thank all these young men and young women to get out there, practice daily or have games, bust their ear in all year long to put on a good show to represent themselves, their school, and their families and their towns, and we appreciate that. Maybe we don't tell them enough, but we certainly do.
Well, this is a long season.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, high school basketball we're talking 4 months playing ball 6, sometimes 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And these kids are busting their tails. The coaches put in so many hours to do this, and you just got to admire them for doing this, and I love it that it's there for the kids, and I really love it that the kids do participate in it, and that they do put in this kind of work,
right?
Because it's a lot of work, and you get towards the end of the season, and you really have to push yourself to get out of bed and go play 6 or 7 days a week, and these kids are doing it.
They sure are.
And my hat's off to them.
And still maintaining that grade point average to be able to participate.
Mm-hmm.
Got to admire them. Got to admire them.
Yep. All right. Well, that'll wrap it up for this district tournament preview edition of the Sports Roundtable. Glad you joined us. Be sure to stick with us for the next few weeks. We've got a lot more basketball to bring to you. It'll be live here on YHC TV and SemoSportZone.com for Terry McVey, Tommy Jacques, and our good friend Jim Reiker, along with us for the girls' basketball preview. We wish you the best, and hopefully you'll stay along with us. And we got more basketball to go, so stick with us. And we'll be back with the roundtable next week as well, Saturday, to preview the rest of the way. And until then, I'm Tyler Wagner. Have a good week.